Well, welcome to Dance Uncorked podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Jean, and today I'm joined by two very special friends, my dance buds, as you would call them, Jimee and Jess of Roselynn Dance Company. So thank you both for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We are drinking wine. It is 10 a.m. Because I have a gig later this afternoon. We are recording a very early session, and we're just going to get right to it and talk about this wine that we're drinking. Jimee is drinking the same wine as me, and Jess has chosen a different beverage. And I will let Jess tell us all why she's drinking a different beverage.
I am 22 weeks pregnant.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Congratulations, Jess. But Jimee and I are going to be drinking a local wine today. So local as in Eugene, Oregon. And we are drinking from Silvan Ridge Winery. We're drinking the 2017 Pinot Noir. And Silvan Ridge, have you both been to Silvan Ridge?
I think I've been there once on like a wine tasting tour. Yeah.
I've never been. That sounds cool.
Yeah. So Silvan Ridge is one of my favorite wineries out here in Eugene, Oregon. And it is one of the oldest wineries actually out here in the state of Oregon. I think it's one of the top 20 in the oldest like vineyards out here. They were actually planted in 1979. So that's kind of when this vineyard established. It was under a different name at the time. But what's really cool about Silvan Ridge is, one, I'm a club member there. So holler Silvan Ridge. I love them. I love their wine. I love the staff. I love the atmosphere of the tasting room. The view is just stunning. It's perfect. It's a perfect, picture of Oregon wine country. If you want to think about Oregon wine country, you go to this tasting room and you're like, yeah, this is Oregon wine country. And they're located, like I said, right here in the Willamette Valley in Eugene, Oregon. What's cool about Silvan Ridge is that it is managed by 3 generations of women, which is which is a really rare lineage in the wine industry. It's it tends to be a male heavy industry. However, there are a lot of female winemakers, but this is one of the first wineries that I've stumbled upon where the management is actually like a lineage of females. And it's a family run business. So it's females in a 3-generation family, which is super cool. Can't wait to see how they keep going with that lineage or how it kind of translates throughout the generations to come. But, like I said, they have a tasting room in Eugene. It's got killer views. It's beautiful and bright. Like the walls are really white, but they have these huge wooden doors that kind of make you feel like you're in a castle. It's so cool. Yeah. And it's a really unique place that is not too far out from the center of downtown Eugene. So you drive maybe 35-40 minutes and all of a sudden you're in this place that you wouldn't expect to be in. So visit the tasting room sometime if you're ever in Eugene. Maybe the 3 of us, next time we're all together in one place, we can go do that.
Yeah.
And then they produce wine on site. So they grow their wine in the vineyards there. Not all of their wines are grown there, but most of them. They have, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris. They might have Chardonnay too. They just, what you can grow in the Willamette Valley, they pretty much grow on site. And then they have machineries and they make everything on site. They have equipment for that. So it's really cool to go there during harvest season because you can see everything happening when you go to the bathroom in the back. You're like, oh, they're de-stemming grapes right now. And you can just see it all happening as it's going. So that's a really cool and fun fact also about their tasting room. And JP Velo is their head winemaker. And he is originally from Argentina. So he moved here quite a few years back, and he's, studied viticulture and really made his mark in the Eugene and Willamette Valley, like winemaking industry. But so this Pinot Noir was, he's responsible for the composition of this wine. But they are also famous for their Malbec, which I don't know if you two like Malbec. But
I love Malbec. It was the only thing I drank when I was in Argentina.
That's right. You went to Argentina. It's me too. Like we both have been there at some point in our lives. And I get really excited every time I try his Malbec, because like as an Argentinian, for those of you that don't know, like Malbec is like the originating wine in Argentina. Like that is its root country. So with JP behind the Malbec of Silvan Ridge, I just feel like it's it's one of the most authentic Malbecs you'll probably have if you're in Oregon, as far as like how it's made. So definitely go and not only try what they grow on site, but definitely try their Malbec. And they also have this really big red blend called Super Rioja. And it's a blend of, I believe, Cab Sauv and Tempranillo. And it's so good. So they have everything that's so tasty, from these really delicate wines to these really, really big reds that I enjoy. I like all of the things. I don't discriminate when it comes to wine. Give me all the things. So let's talk about this 17 Pinot Noir. 2017 in Eugene, Oregon. I believe we were all in Eugene because we went to the University of Oregon together, and we all graduated from the dance program. So when you were undergrads, I was in grad school, and we all got to dance together many times, which was super fun. But in 2017, I believe that was the in-between year. Like in 16, we had that freeze, and then in 18, no, we're talking winter time, we had a freeze, a huge ice storm come through in 16. And as a Floridian, I was like, what the actual hell is going on here? It was really
honestly, as a Eugenian, I was like, what is going on? That does not happen here.
That's true. A lot of locals were telling me that. They were like, this never happens. I'm like, well, I feel like all of y'all are lying to me right now. But apparently it was rare. So 16, we had the freeze. And then in 18, we had the snow dump. Like we had feet of snow, which was also a pretty rare occasion in Eugene.
Yeah, it's like every 20 years or so we get something like that.
Yeah. Wow. So 17 was that in-between year. And winter and summer and all the seasons really they have a large role in the way a wine comes out, and how it's produced and how it ferments and how it ages and things like that. So 17 was that in-between year where I think winter was pretty okay. It was mild, according to the years that kind of hug it. And then the summer, I believe, we probably had a hot streak like we have been for the last couple of years. But otherwise, everything, I think 17 was pretty like okay. I don't remember if there were fires. I'm sure there were.
I think there were. I remember because the job I got right out of college, we had to bring in air purifiers because of the fires.
Yeah. So that could have affected this wine. So that's kind of the background. I'm like setting the stage for this wine. I'm like, it was not the cold year, but it was a fire year or something like that. So that's kind of the vintage that we're talking about here. It's supposed to be bright with fruit on the nose. So when you smell it, it's supposed to have this like really fruity aroma. And then when you taste it, it's supposed to have this really like earthy palate. So I love that they actually keep it very vague, because I think earth can taste like a lot of different ways to very different taste buds, like everyone's taste buds are a little bit different. So I love that they actually keep the tasting notes very generic. It's a little bit more inclusive, I think. And you're supposed to have like a silky, delicate finish. So let's go ahead and taste this and see if we can get any of those notes out of that. So cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. That is very silky at the end.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's actually like Ooh, that's interesting. It like you swallow it, you're still tasting fruit, and then all of a sudden, like as it gets to like your stomach, right? Or wherever liquid ends up before it travels through your intestines or whatever. Right there is where I get the silkiness, like in the back of my throat.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I definitely get the fruit, like super fruity on the nose. It's very like very ripe heart of summer berries. Like when they're perfect, blackberries. I'm getting a lot of like blackberry type tang to it.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think I would drink this by itself. And I also think it would pair really well nicely with something. I don't know. What do you think, Jimee?
I mean, I think it would go really nice with like a nice like rare steak.
Yeah. Rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking rare steak, or I was thinking like salmon, like cedar plank smoked like salmon, because of all the fruit and like brightness of it would like complement and counter.
Yeah.
Just because like any good art, you need a little bit of tension. So it's like a little bit of both worlds would be super lovely. I love this wine. I love all of their wines. I'm like super biased. Sorry about it. But Silvan Ridge always hits the mark for me. So they are in grocery stores, at least in Oregon. And I believe they distribute to states throughout the country too. So please take a look out for Silvan Ridge wine. And this 17 Pinot Noir is lovely. They also have, in addition to the Malbec and the Super Rioja, they're like big reds. They are actually really famous for their Muscat. So all my sweet wine drinkers out there, like my mother, this is a really special wine. There was at one point I could taste like jasmine in the Muscat during one year. It was just so beautiful. So for sweet wine drinkers too, look out for their Muscat. And I think they distribute that throughout the nation as well. So cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining me this morning. Once again, this is Jimee and Jess from Roselynn Dance Company, and it is a local Oregon dance company. And I wanted to bring you guys on because, like I said before, we are old dance alums. We, spent many hours in the dance classroom together. We spent many hours on stage together performing, traveling Oregon. weren't we all in URDC at some point? Or I just remember traveling with all of you.
Yeah.
I was, but I don't think Jess was.
We had like a weird 4-person year.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went down to like Ashland or something on a whim, like just us. And I was like, this is fun.
It was fun.
It was super fun. And we got to perform at one of the universities in Southern Oregon. So we've done lots of dancey things together. And we went through this program, which is a predominantly modern dance program. But we did a lot of different styles too. While we were there, I think both of you had taken one of my classes while I was a grad student, like teaching also. So you might have taken my jazz or my hip hop or whatever I was teaching at that time. But I wanted to bring you all on here because you guys have really started this special company, and it's pretty unique. Because Jimee, you're sitting in Eugene right now, and Jess, you're in Portland. So you guys live in different places, but you have this company together, and you're actually like preparing for shows, and you offer classes, and you do a lot of screen dance, and you just do a lot of cool stuff, and you make living in separate places work for a combined effort. So what I want to know, let's start out with some brief summaries of like your individual dance histories, because I think all three of us came from very different like dance backgrounds, and how you ended up going from all of these individual places, and how you ended up just joining forces together for this dance company.
Yeah. I'll go first. I started the very first dance class I took was like a ballet tap combination when I was in like kindergarten. And then I didn't touch dance until middle school when I joined dance team, which is pretty much only jazz. And it's like drill jazz.
Yeah.
It's very precision. And I did that all the way through high school. And I taught when I was in high school, I taught for the middle school dance team. And I didn't even plan on majoring in dance. But when I got to the U of O, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I just, on a whim, took a dance class because I missed it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I still need to do this.
Yep.
And so, and I double majored in dance and Spanish. And so I got to travel to Argentina and learn tango there, which was really cool. And then just, you know, Jess and I met through taking classes together, and we did our first piece together the last term of senior year.
I remember that piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jess,
I grew up super small town on the Oregon coast. Super small dance studio, dancing there, mostly ballet. So I was a bunhead a little bit. And then I got to high school and I did dance team as well. So we probably crossed paths at some point before we knew each other, at competitions or something. Yeah, and then I went to college and was like, yeah, I still like dance. Let's keep doing it. And I did, and probably met Jimee. And yeah, that last term of senior year, we like finally got together and we were like, wait, this is really fun. Like, I like working with you.
Yeah.
We like meshed in the first rehearsal that we had for that piece.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that was actually the beginning of Roselynn. Like, honestly, that was the spark. And then how long after graduate? So like graduation was, you guys were was that 17?
2017.
Okay, so we all graduated at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember graduation. Like I was like, I don't remember how that went. I remember that the floor was really slippery. Like that was what I was really focused on at graduation. Do you guys remember how slippery? I was like, do not fall in front of me.
Oh yeah.
Do not fall.
Terrified of falling.
Yeah. So okay, we all graduated in 17. So we're talking June of 17. How long after that until like you actually were like, this is going to be our name, this is going to be our brand, we're going to start doing these things? Like, when did you guys start planning that?
That's a good question.
I would say it was kind of gradual.
Yeah.
We did a project together for a fun thing in Eugene called Arts Alive. It's like an outdoor little
on the first art walk
thing. Yeah.
And that was, I think that was in 2018.
I think it was just a year later.
Okay. So it took just a little bit of time, but not very much time. Honestly. Cool. So I love that performance was actually kind of the beginning. I didn't know that. That was like the birth of this bigger idea that was coming about. So tell me about your dance company. Like what kind of art do you make? What kind of dance do you do? I don't really want to say genre, because I feel like you both are very open-minded dancers, and I think you just value a lot of like space when it comes to how you define dance, just based off of, one, knowing you, and then two, watching your screen dances and things on your website and just reading through it. Like it seems so open and kind of inclusive. So I'm interested in knowing how you define like Roselynn Dance Company, and how do you prefer, like what kind of art do you prefer to make, and how does that attach to your mission as the company?
We are definitely pretty open on our definition of our style. We both have similar ways of moving, but for me it's just moving. However, the artistic process kind of takes you. I'm not trying to do something in one specific way because it looks a specific way. It really just depends on what we're creating and what story we're trying to tell.
Okay.
And I think a lot of our pieces are telling stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely the story aspect. And then also I think we focus on a lot about how it feels ourselves.
Yeah.
Like even when choreographing, we think about like if someone else is gonna do this, what they might feel when they're doing it, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in rehearsal, a lot of times we ask, does it feel good to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it feel right to do that?
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's very like internal, based on and based on your, I love, like I said, it's super open. Like you have a very open definition, and you said movement, right? So I wonder, because I ask myself this question all the time, right? Like, is all dance movement, and is all movement dance? How do you feel about that as like a company and like what you do? Because I see your choreography, and I feel like if you held an audition, like lots of people would actually have the opportunity to be a part of your projects, because your movement is not easy, quote unquote, but it's very accessible movement because of your open definition of like what dance and art is. So I wonder, because like I said, I grapple with this all the time, and I love big like artsy fartsy questions like this. But what is all dance movement, and is all movement dance, or can it be?
I mean, I think so.
Why?
In a way. Well, I've just always been obsessed with like how the body moves. I think it's artful in whatever movement that it does, like walking or sitting or
Okay.
yeah. So I think for that reason, I would say yes. I don't want to exclude any way of moving from being artistic.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think there's art in the design of the body and how the body moves. And so you could interpret any movement of the body or lack thereof as artistic expression.
Okay.
I was thinking that too.
Or lack thereof. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. I love the way you think about it. Just because with heavy training, and it's interesting that both of you think about this, because I'm thinking about your dance team background, and even Jess, you said your bunhead background is like these are very codified forms of movement, and it's like very technically focused. So it's so interesting to hear you all now at this point in your lives consider movement and dance and artistic expression in the words that you're explaining it in, because it's kind of the opposite of
Right.
So what do you, if you're here now, and I'm totally going off script right now, like from these that I actually sent you, but welcome to my podcast. So like I think about now, where you're now, how do you feel about your dance history? Like what you were doing back then? Like, was that dance? How do you feel about that as far as your history and like your historical background of how you learned movement or found artistic value in movement from now?
I've thought about this a lot, because when I was in high school, I would get very offended when someone said that dance wasn't a sport.
Okay.
To me, dance was a sport because we had competitions. We could win state. It was athletic, pretty athletic, especially with like kick team and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Having to, basically try to kick your nose every time.
For those of you that have never tried a kick line, try it.
Yeah.
And now I don't consider the type of dance that I do as a sport. I consider it as an art.
Okay.
And I remember actually I took your jazz class, I think my freshman year.
Yeah.
And you had us improvise. And I had never improvised before.
Oh my God.
How do you improvise jazz? That's not how jazz works.
Oh, right? Or does it? Yeah.
Or is that maybe like how it actually works?
Right.
And as soon as I figured out how to improvise, that's when the shift in my mind happened, where dance isn't the choreography. Dance is the embodiment of the choreography in the story you're trying to tell, or the message, or the it could be anything, whatever you're trying to do with the piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the choreography itself, it's how you do the choreography and how you feel in it.
Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I think about that a lot. Like now when I try and take a ballet class, it's hard for me. Like I don't necessarily super enjoy it.
Why?
I feel restricted. I mean, I value the hard work in it for sure, and getting a workout in.
Yeah.
But that's probably about it for me sometimes. I don't know. I more enjoy just moving around however I want to now for dancing. So, yeah, I think I value having that background and being introduced in the way that I did. But I also am glad that I've found this open way of moving as well, because I feel like it's very freeing for me and in a way that I never would have thought that it would be back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like if we had a principal ballet dancer also in this conversation, I feel like, and this is a total assumption, but like just based on talking to some ballet dancers that I know locally here and just whatever, I feel like they describe ballet the same way you're describing your art right now. Like there is freedom.
Yeah.
They
Right.
find freedom in this movement that just you might actually just find super restrictive right now based on like the way you like to move.
Right.
So I just love hearing all the different ways people feel about how they like their art. I mean, Christian, one of our professors, that was a question he asked me one day. Well, how do you like your art? And I'm like, are we eating steak? Like medium rare? Like I don't know. I had never been asked that question before. And it makes total sense now to ask that question on a regular basis, just because I think it can change. And it has different like meaning to different people and how people understand and experience freedom within their bodies and artistic expression and artistic freedom. Like, what does that mean? It clearly means different things to different people. And I love your definition of it. And I love other people's definition of it. I love my own like definition of it. And I love watching and listening to people kind of grow into their own definitions of it. Cause that's hard. That was hard for all of us, I think, in college, because that's when we're being like poked and prodded. Like,
Right.
what are your values? How do you do this? Try this, but
I
don't
don't know.
like, I don't know who I am at all. You know, you get to this like stripped down moment almost in a good way. I like to remember the good moments where it's like I was challenged and stripped to a point where I'm like, like, do I even want to do that anymore? Because I've been used to doing it for so long. But then, you know, there are some negative strip downs that come with a lot of those things too, that I think each of us experienced in our own ways through higher education, but that's another podcast. But like, I love that you have this experience with dance and how you've kind of grown through your backgrounds and where you are now. And I anticipate that it won't stop changing. Like you're gonna, in 10 years, it might be something different. Who knows if dance team like may make a comeback in your life. You just never know. One of you could be coaching a dance team at some point. It's just, you have no idea. And it can always just kind of circle back around for you. So thank you for sharing all that with me. But
Yeah.
I guess my next question would be, since we're talking about like individually how you kind of came to the place that you are, you guys met in college and you kind of crossed paths. You had this great connection when you created a piece together at the end of senior year, bubbling up to this new dance company. How do you now, as a dance company and with this like single mission, how do you like to create art together? Like, take me through your artistic process as a duet. Like, how does this work?
Yeah, we so far all of our projects have kind of just been like, I think this might be a cool thing. Oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, we've been on the same page with all of our ideas so far.
We're always on the same page.
Always on the same page. It's a little uncanny.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll usually have like something happen in our lives, or we'll both be inspired by the same thing, and it brings us to this idea, and we kind of just have a Zoom meeting usually and talk about the idea, and we usually talk about the idea for a while before we actually come up with any choreography, because for us the ideas behind the choreography are so important. And then we'll either each come up with choreography on our own and then come together like in real life in the studio, either in Eugene or Portland, or we'll meet together and create the choreography together.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes we plan out like renting the studio isn't free. So sometimes we'll plan before we get there, like what are we gonna do? Plan out our time so it's efficient, and then by the time we get there, we really know what we're doing and everything comes together really smoothly, and that's kind of where the magic happens, whether we have other dancers, we're teaching them, or it's kind of cool that way too, because everything's like all of the logistics are already planned out. Everything's just on the table for us to just, it's like arts and crafts table, just like already ready for us, and we just
that's so cool. That's a great like way to put it.
Yeah, I like the way you described that, because that's very accurate. We spend a lot of time putting together all of the arts and crafts supplies, and then we get together and play with them.
Okay, so and that's something I want to note too, is like you live in two different places, so that's another layer of challenge when it comes to collaboration. Sometimes, right? Like I feel like 2020 has taught us that like location and distance isn't really a boundary anymore. We can kind of overcome that and still create these really cool things, even if we're far apart. But eventually, especially I think for dance, it's crucial that that meeting point happens, right? Like the distance is cool. We can do really creative things apart and on the same page at the same time, but that physical meeting of the two, that colliding of physical bodies in space has to happen at some point, whether that's like show day or like a rehearsal, because that's happened before, where you just like fly in and you're like, all right, we got a show tonight, what are we doing, and yeah, like scary AF, but you just do it. But I love, like, that's an added challenge for you guys, but it sounds like you have it pretty planned out, so it happens virtually first. You're getting all the crafts for the craft table, so that when you show up to rehearsal, all those things are in front of you and you're like, okay, let's just start building this. Like that's kind of what it sounded like to me. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, like for example, a recent rehearsal we had a Zoom meeting, and we were like, in this next section we want to do this, the next section we want to do this, and we want to do this, and this is the shape we want to make, and we literally write it down so that when we get to rehearsal, we're like, okay, this is the thing that's going to go here, let's see if it works.
Cool.
And then next we want to do this, let's see if it works. And then we know what our plan is, so we can just go down the line, and then that structure is there, but then we can play within it.
Oh, that's really cool.
But at least we know where we're going.
It sounds so organized.
It's very organized. And I think part of that comes from Jimee.
Knowing, that's a Jimee
Yeah.
thing. Mhm.
Yeah. 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 And then I would say my role is like letting it be kind
Yeah.
of open in rehearsal. Like letting new things come in outside of that organized plan.
And knowing you, that sounds very Jess. Like that, because from like Jimee, you're very organized, you're very thought out, you're very planned. You were my intern for my ballroom dance class. And I remember I made you because you went to Argentina and learned Argentine tango. I'm like, guess what you're teaching?
Yeah.
For a really authentic experience for the students and just for so you can get some teaching experience too. But like you were very planned out. And Jess, I remember when you would have to guest teach like modern class or something for a final project or whatever. That was a fun time.
Yeah.
But your session was like super. You were just like, I mean, I don't know. Just do whatever you feel. Or yeah. I like that. Let's change it. Let's do it that way. And you were still very organized, but you just had a little bit of a different approach than like Jimee. I probably tend more on the Jimee side of things where I'm like very like meticulous about what I want to do, but I try and be very just about leaving space in something, whether it's a class or a rehearsal, just to allow creative freedom. So I think it makes a lot of sense that you two are doing this together because it's kind of the best of both worlds. And God, like what a pleasant experience for your dancers, because you make it easy for them to walk into something. Like you're very organized, but there's also a lot of creative freedom that it seems like you're presenting. So, is it kind of the same process for your dancers too? Like, do you ever meet with them on Zoom and then meet up in place, or how does that work when you have people outside of just you two?
Yeah, we, for our current project, that's the first project that's happened like with other dancers since the pandemic started. And so the first couple months, we just had a giant Zoom meeting with everybody there. And we just went like step by step, like, okay, this move. Does anybody have an idea of what we could do next? We want to do this. How do we get there? Kind of thing. And we just like built it. And then after a couple months, we met in person and tried to figure out how it all came together.
Yeah, so we kind of include them in our process of like, this is our plan. Like, what do you think? Kind of thing. So, yeah, and that's part of our mission a little bit too is giving creative freedom and like an opportunity for other dancers to like do what we're doing because we like doing it and we want to share it. So
yeah, we definitely like to involve the dancers in creating the choreography or changing the choreography because they're dancing it. It's their dance too.
It goes back to that feeling, like you want them to feel right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your show. If where is it? Because you guys are in two different locations. So where is it? And then like what should viewers expect? How many nights is it? How many dancers do you have in this show? What was that process of putting this show together?
Yeah, it's on November 13th.
Okay.
And we decided to have the show in Portland. So it's at Performance Works Northwest in Portland.
Okay.
And we have six dancers. Yeah.
Including you or like in addition to you?
In addition to us. Okay. We are not performing in the show.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So we are just choreographers this time.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have 9 tickets left as of today. It's a pretty small venue, so we could only sell 25.
But that's awesome that like you're meeting your goal of like, I mean, how often do you sell out an audience, right? Like you can say that. You're like, we sold it out. Like we're love it. I love this.
Yeah. And since we're in 2 different cities, our dancers are in 2 different cities. We have 2 of them who are here in Eugene and the rest of them are up in Portland. So we also have, we're going to be live streaming the show.
Oh, cool.
And we have tickets for the live stream up on our website as well. So if it sells out and you can't make it, you can go live stream. Or if you can't make it all the way up to Portland, you can watch it on the live stream as well.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a couple dance films screened, and our dancers are also putting together some pieces to show before the main project. So there'll be a couple different performances within the show.
Oh, so you have like an opening act? Kind of? Oh, that's neat. Okay. That's cool. That's a cool way to do it. I don't think I've been a part of a show that like features the dancers' work first and then goes into like the company show. That's pretty cool. I've never experienced that before.
Yeah, we thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the show called?
The Process Project.
So what does that mean? Why did you name it that title?
Well, our idea was to kind of show the audience a level of the process that goes into making a dance piece. So that's kind of what it is.
Okay. So who are you hoping like comes to the show? I mean, obviously there's not a lot of room, like it's 25 tickets. So, I mean, that's kind of, you can fill that up with family members, right? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, that's kind of what happens a lot of the times anyway. Family members, friends that, you know, support this, but like, who's your ideal audience member? Like, who do you really hope comes to the show outside of like family members who are just like, you're fabulous no matter what, you know?
I would hope that people who like to just come and watch performance art of any kind would come and see the show, or at least see it online and see the work that goes into the stuff that they like to go see. Because a lot of times, like I know people who go and see performances and, you know, they'll like talk about it, but they don't really know how much work went into it. Oh, okay. And how much time it took and how much it evolved from beginning to end. So I'd like people who regularly see dance performances or theater performances kind of see a little bit of a peek into what can go on behind the scenes before they see the final product.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm wondering, are you going to have, like, is that process going to be uncovered through simply like the performance, or are you guys going to do like a talk back? Because I know that's a really popular way of like inviting your audience into a more in-depth conversation about, you know, what it was about, or just answering questions that the audience had, or actually like giving them a space to be like, okay, so what you just saw, this is how we got there type thing. And like you have an actual open dialogue about it. So are you guys doing something like that? Or is it just are you strictly trying to open up the process through the performance only?
Yeah, we're kind of presenting the performance is the process.
Okay.
So you see the progression of the piece throughout the piece.
Okay.
We're going to see like different iterations of it as it evolves into what the final product or the project is.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So then is it fully choreographed, or is there still going to be some open ends when you get to show day?
It's fully choreographed.
Pretty fully choreographed. Yeah.
It's so interesting because like you would think like based on the way you're explaining it, that there's like it would be unfinished, or like the process like concludes right at this performance. So, but it's actually very, I mean, this is classic Jimee, like it's very like planned out, like it's scripted. It's not, I don't want to say scripted, but it's like it's very intentional about each thing and like mindful about I love that you're just not even having a talk back about, like you're letting the work do the speaking, which speaks a lot to how you do art and how you prefer your art. It all makes total sense, at least to me it does. Like this is an approach that like I don't normally take, like this, what you're doing, I would never do this on my own, right? Like my mind just works a little bit differently as far as like vision and art. but it'd be cool. I can only imagine how cool it is for the dancers to be a part of something like this. Like just to be like, we're going to demonstrate our process, but it's going to be it's very like put together. It's not just like this open-ended, like la 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 on stage, like let's see what happens kind of thing, which is like, that's cool in and of itself. And I think there's a time and a place for that. But I really admire how intentional you're being about, gosh, you guys are like really intentional about being open when it comes.
Yeah.
It's actually a very nuanced thing, because a lot of like openness in dance comes with a lot of like frou-frou and sometimes like self-centered like values, right? Like it's just like, well, I don't care how you see this, I'm just going to do this like for me. But you're very intentional about like offering something to the audience that is still very open. It's actually really hard to do, I think. So bravo to both of you for this concept. This sounds so interesting.
Thanks. Yeah, we've been thinking about it for a while, so we're really excited to finally have it done and to show it. So,
oh my gosh. Okay, so November 13th coming up, virtual live stream and also in person in Portland. So we'll make sure to include those links to tickets down at the bottom of this video and in the, the description of the episode on Spotify and all the other platforms where you can just listen to this episode. So we'll make sure to include those so you can buy tickets to either watch it virtually, or you can watch it in person if there are tickets left, because it sounds like they're selling quick, y'all, which is great. That's fantastic for a first, and this is your first show as a company, correct?
Yes.
Oh my God.
The first one was canceled.
Right, because
it is in March of 2020.
That pandemic came along. Yes, I know, you guys. I danced for the first time since 2019 in front of people yesterday night, and it was amazing.
Oh my goodness,
it was awesome. It was awesome, and I mean, it's not like it wasn't the most technical dancing. It's very gig. Like this is a gig. It was like a one-time thing, and at least right now it seems like a one-time thing. Who knows what it could turn into? But it was really exciting to be in front of people, and we had like live music behind us, and singing was on stage, and I was like, this is awesome. Like it's so cool to be here again. But after that 2-year hiatus, it's magnificent to be in front of people. So I think your dancers are probably so excited to do.
They are very excited. Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for them.
And a side note, my grandma saw that show last night.
Oh, did she? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. She goes to all the shows at the Shed, and she said that the dancers and the choreography reminded her of me.
Bam. Okay. That's awesome. That's so cute that she's there. That was it's been a fun little gig. And like I said, it was just really, really nice to be on stage again in front of people in a theater, with live music and singing behind me. And like, just, we met like performing is just such a special experience. So I'm really happy that you guys are able to offer this to some dancers, locally, and just to kind of put your art out there and your unique way of doing it. I don't really know a lot of people right now that are kind of doing what you're doing in the way that you're doing it, which is really interesting. So if people want to know more about Roselynn Dance Company, and I mean, do you offer classes right now? Like, how does that work? Are you doing stuff like that, or what's your plans for that?
We're not offering classes right now, but we are looking to probably after the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I gotta do big things first. Yep.
Yeah. So you can look out for us on our Instagram or Facebook. And we're probably going to be having some workshops, kind of one-time things going on. So yeah,
because you guys plan on you're not gonna live in the same place. Like that doesn't seem like if there's any plan, like that's not it,
right. Yeah.
So you're making this work, and you're designing this in a very specific way to live apart, but also offer certain things at certain times. So look out for workshops, one-time things, shows. Like that's a good way to kind of get involved with Roselynn. It also sounds like you guys have a lot like heavy screen dance opportunities just because you are so virtual, right? So I mean, am I correct in saying like anyone that's interested in doing stuff like that, they could, like, Roselynn might be a good spot for those dancers that are interested in doing more things like screen dance or presenting screen dance? Would they have opportunities in Roselynn to do that?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say anybody who's interested in putting something together, if you have an idea or you just want to be a part of our next project, you can just message us on Instagram at Roselynn Dance, and we'll keep you in mind for our next project.
Cool. So you have an Instagram and you have a Facebook and you have a website. So I'll make sure to include all that information down below. Good luck on your first debut show next month. I think that is so exciting. And I'm really proud of you guys. You know, as fellow dancers, as standing side by side in dance class, but also having you all as students at one point too, and in some capacity, you both are making great strides. And I've always appreciated your perception of dance and your lens to look through. You guys were always like a fresh and reliable and honest like lens to look through from my eyes, like when I was dancing with you, or even just like as my intern or whatnot. So I've always appreciated that about you guys, and I can see it shine through just from this conversation about your work and how you plan on sharing that with other people. There's just something so warm about both of you. Like, you're just like, let's just share, let's just get together and just like do this, you know, without any like extra, you know, agenda or just, there's not a lot of like fluff coming with it. It's just, you guys are very grounded. You seem so grounded in what you're doing, which is really hard sometimes for an artist to get to, and it takes time to get there. And I feel like you guys have already like gotten to this place that for me it feels like it's still taking a long time to finally get to a place where I'm like, yep, this is just what I do. I'm gonna own that, you know? So bravo, kudos, all the things. Cheers to both of you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Once again, Roselynn Dance Company with Jimee and Jess, and we'll see you next time on Dance on Cork Podcast.
Woo!